boys and girls. So the next activity I would like you to do is take out your big green workbook and we're going to open it up to page 66 to work on our letter W. What's the sound the W makes? Do you remember? W, w. Right. So we're going to open up. You may choose a crayon and we're going to practice those lines we were just talking about. Let's see how many lines make up the W again. Let's look at it again. Ready? Shall we count? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So you can see here, it's almost like they've put sticks to make each of those lines. And each picture, they add one of the lines. Down, down, up, down, up, down, and then finally, down, up, down, up. So you can go ahead and trace those. Remember to start at the top of the line, but then once you get to the bottom, you're going to keep following along. Down, up, all the way down. And once you've got the hang of those, you can try it on your own. So at the bottom of our page, we have these 4 W's. Remember, that smiley face helps you to see where you start the W in case you forget. Always start at the top, and we're going to start on this side. I don't want you to lift your crayon off the page. Keep it on the page until you finish each W. Ready? Down, up, down, up. Then you can lift it off and place it on the next W. So you can do all 4 of those. And then I want to know what you think this is a picture of. Does anybody remember what these are called or perhaps have one at home? It's a wagon. A wagon. Why do you think they chose a wagon? If you said it's because it starts with the W sound, you are correct. And there's something else on the wagon that starts with a W sound. In fact, there's 4 of them. What is this called? Or what are these called? They are wheels. Now, my son, when he was in the 4s, he decided to color his wagon red because we used to have a red wagon, and his tires or his wheels, he's colored black. So if you have a wagon at home, you can think about what color it is and copy that wagon color. But a lot of them are red, so that might be a good choice if you're not sure. And he, as you can see, he colored this big part up top red, but the wheels he colored black. And it looks like he colored the handle here red as well, but you can color it. I think it might have been black, ours. And so once you've done a really great job on this, you can get your stars out. I have mine here, and you can give yourself a star or ask a grown-up to give you a star if you did a really great job coloring, trying to stay inside the lines. Okay, so now that we're done with our workbook, and if you're not done, pause the video and pick this back up when you're done. We're going to read our W book for the week. What is this little guy? Do you know what he is? He's a worm. And look what he's pulling, a red wagon. A worm with his wagon. And this book is called Worm's Wagon. So get comfy and get ready to listen to our W book. And at the end, I'm going to ask you how many words you might have heard and if you can think of any more. And if you are up for the challenge, you can ask a grown-up to help you write down all the words you can think of that start with that W sound. Okay, here we go. Worm's Wagon. One day, Worm went into the woods to gather walnuts. He brought his wagon with him. On his way home, Worm saw Woodpecker whistling in a weeping willow. Woodpecker asked Worm for a ride. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker in his wagon. Soon they came upon Weasel eating watermelon. Weasel asked Worm for a ride. And he says up here, "Wow, what a wagon!" And our Woodpecker over here, he says, "Wow, what a wagon," too. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker and Weasel in his wagon. Before long, they bumped into Wombat, wearing her new wig. Wombat asked Worm for a ride. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel, and Wombat in his wagon. Next they met Wolf on his way to work. Wolf asked Worm for a ride. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel, Wombat, and Wolf in his wagon. Soon they saw Walrus, winking and waving. Walrus asked Worm for a ride. And Walrus too says, "Wow, what a wagon!" Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel, Wombat, Wolf, and Walrus in his wagon. Up ahead they saw Whale playing in the water. Whale asked Worm for a ride. He says, "Wow, what a wagon" as well. Worm wiggled with all his might, trying to pull Woodpecker, Weasel, Wombat, Wolf, Walrus, and Whale in the wagon. But the wagon would not move. The wheels started to wobble and wham! The weight was too much for the wagon. It crashed to the ground. "Oh no! My wagon," Worm replied. "Don't worry, Worm," said the animals. Worm's friends worked on the wagon all afternoon. When the wagon was fixed, Worm wiggled into it. Then Wombat, Weasel, Wolf, Woodpecker, Walrus, and Whale pulled Worm all the way home. And Wary Wombat had a wonderful ride. Now we get to start thinking about W words. I heard lots. Did you? So I'm going to pick up my marker and think. I'm going to put my thinking cap on for this one. Let's see. Shall we start with an easy one? Who is the story about? Who was the main character in the story? If you said Worm, you are right. Very good. Now, another one that I liked was something the Wombat was wearing. She had it on her head. It wasn't a hat. It was a wig. Did you catch that one? I'm going to write that one down. And then, let me think, what else was in the story? We know wagon, so we can write that down, but I'm going to write one of Worm's animal friends, and he had lots, didn't he? But I'm going to write down whale. So I've got 3 words. I bet you can come up with so many more. Well, W is a really great one for brainstorming words. Words. Bye, everybody.